I'm sorry about your dad, but I'm glad you're home, kid.
I don't think his death was an accident.
That's what people want, Parker.
I swear if he had anything to do with that cave-in, I will kill him. Help! Help! I've been shot!
The film opens in Syria when a woman unexpectedly encounters a group of terrorist militias in the desert and skillfully kills them all with her small knife. Parker, a highly skilled commando and military investigator, with her friend and colleague named Spider, has now successfully passed one of the anti-terrorist missions in Syria. Things get complicated when Parker receives a call from her ex-boyfriend Jesse, now a sheriff in town. Jesse informs her of her father's sudden death in a mine collapse, and Parker promptly returns to her hometown of Creation to attend the funeral, as well as take over the bar he left behind. As soon as she arrives in town, she visits Jesse. Given Harry's recent note about missing his daughter and his bad mood, Sheriff Jesse thinks that his death may have been a suicide, but Parker sadly rejects it. Jesse takes her to their family bar, which she inherited from her father. Parker is saddened every moment she sees her father's photos, because it is tough for her to bear this tragedy. In the middle of the night, she notices that a stranger is going to enter the bar and gets suspicious, so she attacks him. It is later revealed that it is Mike, her best friend, who has come to find his lizard and has been caring for it here. During the conversation, Mikey explains that he was the one who went to explore the mine and discovered her father's body. They decide to go to the scene. Harry's recently installed security cameras attract Parker's attention at the cave's beginning, and Mike informs Parker that Harry has been spending as much time in the cave lately as a person spends in his room. Memories of Parker and her father's past are evoked for her. After that, Parker notices the unusual arrangement of the rocks, and after examining one of the stones, she believes that the mine collapsed due to the explosion of a grenade. Despite Mike's claim that Harry might have forgotten to pull the trigger of the grenade, Parker considers it impossible and becomes more and more suspicious of her father's death, that maybe his murder was a conspiracy. They go to the bar to drink beer, where Parker meets Elvis, Jesse's younger brother, and the family villain. However, due to their not-so-good relationship in the past, their conversation is not friendly. When she and Mike return to the vehicle, she sees some suspicious youths robbing a van and decides to chase them. She eventually witnesses the thieves planning to rob a tool store, so she asks Mike to wait and follows them seriously. When she is sure they are planning to steal again, she quickly intervenes and severely punishes all three. She is shocked to see an old watch on the wrist of one of the robbers. Later, it turns out that this watch belonged to one of her father's old friends, Frank, who returned to its real owner after many years. She stayed there the night. The next morning, she notices a big explosion near the mine, so she climbs the mountain to find the cause. It turns out that Elvis and his gang are having fun shooting RPGs, and Parker wonders how they got hold of these advanced weapons. She asks her close friend Spider, a professional hacker who works for the CIA, to take control of the CCTV cameras in the cave. Through a link that Parker sends to him, it is revealed that Elvis had suspicious activities on the dark web, so she thinks that her father's death may be related to him. The next day, she finds out that there is a base and warehouse of advanced military weapons near the mine, and she keeps a close eye on it. She meets Georgia, Mike's mom, to get some information. Mike reveals that once, Elvis wanted to sell an AK to one of his friends, but he doesn't know who he connected to get these weapons. Later, Spider informs Parker that Elvis has a deal at his house today, so she immediately enters Elvis's residence to find out what's happening. There, when one of the customers wanted to try a machine gun, the aimless shots go at Parker, but luckily, she dodged. Moments later, when she approaches them, she realizes that Ghost, who is considered one of the American domestic terrorists, is asking Elvis for some RPG. It turns out that Elvis is an illegal arms dealer for the army. During a date with Jesse, he introduces her to his father, Ezekiel, a senatorial candidate. He believes that Jesse should invite her home one night. Parker and Jesse spend the night reminiscing and getting drunk after they come to the conclusion that her father's death was not an accident. They slept together. However, in the middle of the night, she, still awake, rides her bike to the police station. where she uses Jesse's card to sneak into his office and retrieve her father's papers. She comes to her father's body with sadness and sobs nonstop. The next day, she says goodbye to his ashes during the funeral ceremony with her friends. By inviting Parker, Senator Swann seems to want to use her to appeal to Latino voters, so he is doing his best to win her support. While still unconvinced, she receives a text message from Spider that Elvis has come to the cave, so she immediately leaves the party and heads to the mine. Upon arrival, she finds them retrieving weapons from her father's cave, so she punctures their truck tire with her small knife. Moments later, she confronts Elvis and subdues him before he can shoot her and tries to force him to confess. At that moment, one of his men sets her house on fire, and Parker is forced to leave him.
Nikki, stop!
During a tough fight with the attacker, she falls from a height. Still, fortunately, she saves herself and escapes without injury. Parker rushes towards Elvis, who is trying unsuccessfully to escape in the disabled car, and she keeps punching him in the face. It doesn't take long for Jesse to arrive and arrest her for assaulting his brother and take her to the station. It turns out that Ezekiel Swann and his sons are behind the whole deal of illegal gun smuggling, and now Parker has no doubt that they are the killers of her father. Jesse plans to bribe Parker to keep her quiet, but she gets angry and reveals that she has evidence against them, such as the CCTV cameras in the mine. After she talks to her lawyer, Luis Torres, he goes to the mine to investigate and get the documents needed for her claims. Suddenly, Jesse appears from behind and seems to kill him. Now, Ezekiel and his sons plan to torture Parker to force her to hand over the security tapes. Meanwhile, she tries to open her handcuff with a small device. When Ezekiel pressures her to call her contact, Parker accepts the deal. During the call to Spider, as soon as he gets behind the line, Parker yells that they are torturing her.
They're torturing me.
Disarming Elvis, Parker forces them into the cell, then shoots Ezekiel in the shoulder, but is stopped by an unaware agent as she leaves. Her fight with the police officer leads to Ezekiel's escape, and when Parker starts chasing him on the road, she seems to have been injured during the fight. She has a terrible accident, and the farmer who is close to her goes to save her. Jesse takes advantage of Parker's absence and checks her latest chats with Spider. Pretending that he is Parker, he texts that she is fine, and there is no need for him to come. Elvis tries his best to find Parker, and they visit Mikey and his mother's home, but they insist they haven't seen her. After checking all the rooms, they leave when they are sure she is not there. However, it turns out that Mikey and his mother are taking care of Parker in the hidden basement of the house. While burying lawyer Luis, Jesse and his brother are worried that they will be delayed in delivering the weapons to Ghost and are terrified that he is a wanted domestic terrorist. Parker wakes up after 3 days of anesthesia, and Mike surprises her with his hidden talent in agriculture. Parker seems to have made up her mind for an all-out fight with the Swann family and their henchmen, yet she evades Mike's question about her job. Georgia claims she has no weapons, but one of the good old inhabitants provides the necessary equipment to arm her. In addition, her father's old friend Frank also provides her with grenades and guns, along with an old, wide, and long knife. The Swanns admit that they faced a problem in delivering Ghost's RPGs. On the other hand, Ezekiel spent all the money received on election campaigns. Hence, Ghost and his men angrily took his sons hostage. Moments later, Parker breaks into their property, kills the lone guard, and throws his body into the pool. Then she meets Ezekiel, who initially claims that her father Harry's death has nothing to do with them, but is forced to tell the truth by her threat. Parker returns to the vehicle. It turns out that Harry knew about Swann's gun smuggling, and his killer was none other than Jesse, who shot Harry in the back. Probably when he was about to die, he pulled the trigger of the grenade, and that's why the mine exploded. Mike warns Parker about the danger of encountering Ghost and his gang. Still, she claims she knows the tunnels better than anyone else, and there's no other way. The gangsters return to the cave, and it is characteristic that they have taken responsibility for moving the weapons themselves. Parker prepares for the second round of attack. Suddenly, Spider comes unexpectedly and asks them about Parker without knowing. The criminals act as if they don't know about her, but their real motive is to assassinate him. Meanwhile, Parker detonates a series of bombs to distract the robbers, allowing Spider to fight them and defend himself. But since they are so outnumbered, they drag him into the cave to question him about Parker. By penetrating the tunnels, Parker finds Spider after discovering a large number of RPGs and frees him by attacking the criminals. She plans to blow up the stolen and illegal ammunition warehouse with an RPG. Suddenly, a mob shoots them from behind, and Spider, without wasting time, explodes the ammunition with an RPG shot. A large part of the cave is destroyed, and the rocks fall. Parker, still confused by the explosion, is injured in the arm. Ghost doesn't take long to appear, and she manages to kill him in a grueling fight. After him, Elvis appears from behind and shoots, but luckily, she defeats him with her unique fighting skills. Eventually, he is also killed by Parker. Moments later, Mike and Parker's other friends helped her find the spider under the rocks. Fortunately, he is alive, so she continues to search for Jesse, and it turns out that he has escaped into a hole that leads into the Army's ammunition and weapons base. Despite the restrictions on the presence of civilians in the Army base, they enter the armory, and Parker, pretending to be an injured civilian, asks the soldiers for help. She asks the trooper if he has seen the sheriff. She suddenly notices Jesse's presence around her and pretends to be in more pain to sit up. The soldier leaves her to get help, and Parker uses this opportunity to find Jesse. As a surprise, she attacks Jesse and stabs him by asking how he could you. Remembering that Harry cared more about him than his father, she still fought with him and wouldn't let him go. In this case, Jesse pulls out a grenade and pulls the trigger. Parker tries to dissuade him, but it's too late because Jesse regrets his past behavior and actions.
I offered to cut him in. He should have just listened to us.
He freaks out and commits suicide, regardless of her advice. Over time, Parker's family bar is rebuilt, and she decides to return to her military career. At the gas station, Spider reveals that he found a videotape of her father's murder, but she says she doesn't want to see it. Spider also shows her a film her father took when they were younger. It shows Parker and her father enjoying various activities from her youth. After that, Mike makes a video call with her, and according to their conversation, it turns out that the management of the family bar has been assigned to Mike. However, Parker promises to come to Creation for the opening party. The movie ends with them moving on the road.